Okay, hopefully this records sound. I don't have the Blue Yeti plugged in, but I should have been recording while I was shuffling. I was kind of doing it absent-mindedly, but I swear these cards just came out, and yeah, anyways, please trust. They just came out randomly, but it's interesting because it's something that has been on my mind most of the day for the past few days, actually. Honestly, with everything that's going on in regards to what's happening in Hollywood and just, looking at the power structure that exists within Hollywood and the music industry, at the very top, it's really gotten me thinking a lot about the meaning of celebrity and fame and the power that's attached to that in many different ways, and how I see and get the sense that there's a crumbling that's happening when it comes to our belief system around what fame and celebrity actually gives you. It's fed by our investment in those people and those figures and what they represent. And yes, certain people do hold a lot of power, at these really, really high levels. I'm not denying that in any capacity. That's why this is such a complex issue and can be so scary. But what I want to talk about instead is about looking at just the concept of celebrity or fame or success in the public sphere, in the public eye, and status. Something that I think about a lot as someone who works in coaching and is trained as a therapist, in the mental health sphere, and working as a DJ as well, is that I get to experience many different worlds. And something that has been on my mind lately is just this observation that a lot of people, regardless of how successful they are or not, do actually experience many of the same challenges in terms of their self-esteem, their self-concept, the internal emotional struggles and psychological struggles that they go through. Situationally, probably different problems. Wealth is going to give you access to resources that, living in poverty will not give you access to certain resources. And there's psychological and emotional consequences and impacts of those situations. So I'm not denying that at all. And we have a lot more in common than we think. And there's this really bad habit, long-standing habit, hundreds of years long habit, of putting certain people on pedestals, of giving people status, whether that's status that has been passed down for many generations or it's status that we award them as the public by putting people on these pedestals, assuming that they have more talent or skill, and through that assumption and pedestalizing, we are also putting ourselves down. It's just a matter of, if you put someone up, you are immediately down, right? So it's interesting to me that the status card came out, because this is just what I was thinking about. And a video that I did on my Instagram for my DJ Instagram recently was talking about, the fact that we're not that different. For example, in DJing or music production, we're not that different from the people who are successful. Maybe it's a different work ethic. A lot of times I think it boils down to luck, meeting preparation. These things are complex. Who knows why certain people make it and other people don't, or within what time frame. But I think there's an issue where whether it's the artists themselves or it's the people who are admiring or maybe even hating on the artist, we're getting a bit lost when it comes to looking at people, because when you put someone on a pedestal, you are putting yourself down in many ways. And this comparison issue that happens with social media is what I spoke to in the video. But needing to look at people not as someone to measure yourself against, like a measuring stick, that's not helpful to us. We got the inspiration card. This is so important because it came out with a detachment card. It's when you detach your identity as relative to that other person that you're looking at, who perhaps has a certain level of success that you want, you need to be able to detach in order to feel that inspiration. If you are attached to that person, if you are attached to their level of success, if you're attached to what you assume that means about you because you're comparing yourself, I call it compare and despair. Sorry, my mouth is really dry. It's when we're so invested in it and we're so attached to the comparison that we can no longer see that person who has that status as an inspiration. You've got to have that. Sorry, these cards are really weird looking, but you have to have that detachment. It's through that surrender and that deep knowing that your journey is unique to you, that you're doing whatever it is that you're meant to be doing at this point in time. I'll give an example. I know she's going to watch this too, so friend, I love you and I'm so stoked for you. And I wish I could be there. So they're on a retreat right now. It's a music production retreat, and we're both learning music production. She's definitely quite a few steps ahead of me on the path, but like tons of people are, the comparison thing is so unhelpful. I'm not finding that coming up so much, but there's this deep desire to also go on, a music making retreat. It looks so fabulous. And the wonderful thing is that I do feel like I have the capacity to live vicariously through other people. So, but it's that if you get so attached to something and you make it about you, as opposed to being able to look at that person and their experience and celebrate them and their success, and do that living vicariously through them, because then that gets you excited, right? You're invested in what they're doing in a really positive way. It's when you're attached to the meaning that you're making about yourself relative to what somebody else is doing, feeling that jealousy, if that's coming up for you. This is what prevents us from feeling the power of inspiration. Getting inspired feeds your own fire, right? Jealousy doesn't. I look at jealousy as a pushing away kind of energy, whereas being inspired by someone is like a pulling. It's like an invitation. There's a magnetism when you look at something that someone else has achieved, what they're doing, what they have, what they earn, if that's important to you, where they are. Maybe they're traveling, if that's important to you. Whatever it may be, there's a magnetism to your dreams, your desires, your goals when you are able to be inspired by somebody like I am by my friend. I'm so excited for it. I can't wait to hear the stories. And I'm just like, oh, it's being invested in a different way, and you need detachment from it. Not even detachment from what you're observing, but detachment from making meaning out of something that isn't truly anything to do with who you are, with what you're doing, with what you're working on, with your path and your achievements. It's a unique journey. And when we are inspired instead of experiencing jealousy, and I'm going to differentiate in a second between jealousy and envy as I perceive them, but inspiration can act as fuel. Jealousy feels like a shutting down and a pushing away because we've created a story about how we cannot have something. So I use the example of, the friend, but I don't feel jealousy, even if maybe I've said it to her. So sorry if I have. What I mean is envy. Now, a lot of people think that jealousy and envy are the same thing, and fair enough. Maybe I'm just making this up in my own mind, but I kind of define envy as this pulling energy. It's like, I'm not jealous and pushing it away. It's, can we be fueled and inspired by a little bit of envy of, oh, I really want that for my life. I really want to, maybe you are seeing people doing big things and you realize in that moment, when you detach a little bit and you stop making it about you and what it must mean about you because you're not currently doing that thing, you're in that place, that's when jealousy can shift into envy, which I perceive as a pulling, a magnetism, an inspired energy that is still detached instead of grasping. I think that's so powerful. I think that's so potent, and it sets you free from the compare and despair when you're looking at someone who has success or status or whatever it may be. And instead of rejecting or grasping, it's just a magnetism. It's a recognition that, okay, I see somebody doing something or having something or achieving something that I want, that you want. And that trigger, that feeling of envy and inspiration allows you to start taking steps in your own world, on your own path, because you're not going to get there the same way because you have a different starting point anyways, right? So I think this is just so powerful and so potent right now. And another thing that was coming through earlier was with the status. We're not that different, all of us. You know, someone might look at something that I've achieved, like I have a master's degree, and I what's another thing I've been traveling a fair bit in my life, and I talked about it ad nauseum, honestly, so I hesitate to mention it, but I won a competition, a DJ competition, and have a residency and all that stuff. It was all a big shift for me in music and in life and my identity. But someone might look at that and then experience jealousy. I've noticed the feeling of when I can tell someone is experiencing jealousy because I feel them pushing me away. And that's really hard. It's hard for everyone, you know, on both sides. But then I actually really enjoy not making somebody jealous, but when someone expresses like this, the inspired, juicy energy behind envy, where someone's like, oh, how did you manage that? That's amazing. Tell me more about it. There's a difference between that curiosity and excitement about something that's been accomplished and their desire to hear more about it and maybe learn, as opposed to someone who's jealous and then shuts you out, ghosts you, falls away, and like relationships fall apart for whatever reason. It's 12:12 on my clock. It unfolds naturally, and it unfolds the way that it's supposed to happen, even if it can cause grief and hurt. But I can also look at someone who's way more accomplished than me. Like, I'm just a DJ in my hometown. I've barely made a mark in my own town, let alone, you know, internationally, or even just other cities. Like, it's still, depending on when you find this, I'm still playing a pretty small game right now. It's easy to fall into compare and despair. Of course, I've had my jealous moments, but I've also noticed that jealousy doesn't move me forward towards my goal. Having an inspired envy draws me towards accomplishing goals. When I look at people who are living a life that, when I look at that, I go, if they can do it, I can do it. Then you have to ask yourself if you really want to do it, because there's a lot of stuff that goes along with accomplishing big goals. It's a lot of work. These things don't necessarily happen overnight. And if anything looks like it happened overnight, or it seems like somebody got lucky, they probably seem like they got lucky, but they are meeting opportunity. The opportunity is lucky, but they're having success because they're meeting it with a lot of preparation. So just keep that in mind. There are people who are putting in years of work behind the scenes in order to meet those lucky opportunities with preparation so that they can succeed. So keep it in mind. But you're not that different from people with the things that you want. You're not that different. Sometimes it really boils down to picking something that is important to you, putting in the hours, putting in the work, being willing to not be good at something in order to get good at something. It can be tough, you know, to be humbled by your own goals. And so oftentimes because we don't like being humbled. We don't like feeling incompetent. We don't like feeling incapable. We don't like feeling like less than, or being a beginner as opposed to being a master, right? That status thing. We can shrink our goals, and that is a huge issue. That's a huge part of the problem with us not achieving our dreams. Have you done this? Have you ever looked at someone and instead of feeling inspired because you're able to detach, what that might mean about you, and instead, just be inspired? Have you ever instead felt that jealousy and felt shut down, and so you shrunk your goals to meet what you think is reasonable or that you could accomplish? It's like this conversation around Delulu is the Salulu. Like, even calling it that, kind of, like, yes, I call it that because that's what people are calling it these days, but I don't think that most of these things are actually that delusional. I'll give you an example. So, depending on when you're seeing this, but around this, from when I'm recording this right now, around this time last year, I was in that DJ competition. Bedroom DJ, only played a couple of clubs. I'd been doing it for a long time, but very, very much hobby. Very much hobby. And so from that point of perspective, to even win the competition seemed delusional. Now, at that time, I started to get into manifestation, which, by the way, is not as woo-woo as you think. It's about neuroscience and behavioral psychology. Like, you still have to show up and do the work, but you shift your mindset. You change what you believe is possible, and you change your self-concept so that you show up differently and you think differently, right? And you learn how to manage your emotions. It's great. It's one of the most healing things you can possibly do, is getting into manifestation. I'll talk about that another time. But the things that I was thinking that I could maybe accomplish had to be stretched. I had to stretch my nervous system's capacity to do new things, do hard things, practice as many hours DJing as I did. It was 4 to 6 hours every day, like 5 days a week. It was a lot. I was very invested in it. Still invested in music in a big way. But even that felt a bit delusional, and it was through the self-identity work and just doing the thing honestly before I believed that I could accomplish the goal, that shifted it out of delusion and into being. Now, from that point in time, if I then was told that a year later I'd go to London and I would get to DJ at the Ministry of Sound, which is a famous nightclub, that was delusional. I don't think, I just wouldn't have believed anybody if they said that to me. And now I've gone and done that thing, which is great. It's amazing. I've met people that I never thought I would get to meet. I've had experiences that I couldn't even have conceptualized, and it's about understanding that the status thing is kind of an illusion. I'm going to take it down a little bit of a spiritual route for a second. We're all worthy at the core. Now, yes, there are bad people in this world doing bad things. I'm not saying that everyone's good. We're all connected, kumbaya. Like, let's not oversimplify. But what is true is that at your core, you are worthy if you perceive yourself to be. A lot of this is in the mind. So much of your ability to manifest, which means set goals, go for it, and accomplish them, make manifest the things that you desire, really boils down to your belief in what you could even have, your perception around what you will allow yourself to do or try or be seen trying, and then changing your self-concept. And yes, changing your self-concept first helps dictate the behavior that will help you manifest, but it's hard to just change your identity overnight. So it kind of goes both ways. You also have to start doing things that are outside of your comfort zone in order to shift how you perceive yourself and change your identity. So it works both ways. You change your identity as much as you can and then act accordingly, but you also, from your current identity, just have to act And then it solidifies the new identity. It's not pretend, it's method acting in a big way. You just choose it, you do it, and then it starts to solidify the more that you do it. I like to say, don't fake it till you make it. Practice it until you become it. That's my preferred statement. So this was a bit of a ramble, but essentially I feel it's important to talk about the status thing, the goals, the big lofty dreams, and the habit that we can have of getting overly attached to other people's success. And it's through detaching from it rather than being jealous and pushing it away. You can have a little bit of envy and pull it to you, magnetize it. You're not grasping, right? You're magnetizing it by becoming magnetic. Being inspired by others instead of jealous of them. Inspiration fuels your fire, right? And you can be inspired by somebody without putting them on a pedestal, right? I'm going to give the same example of my friend. I love this person to bits. They're amazing. And I do not put them on a pedestal. They don't put me on a pedestal. We're colleagues, we're peers, we're friends, and we can still be mutually inspired by one another. So this has been handy when navigating the DJ world, the producer world, the music industry, is looking at people's humanity. And maybe it's that like therapist, coach, insider perspective where I wind up having these heart-to-heart conversations with people at very different stages in their music career and their level of success in their journey. We're not that different. Really not. A lot of people are dealing with the same hang-ups, the same insecurities, the same challenges emotionally and psychologically. So what I want you to understand is that it's not as far away as you think. And it's through your shifting your perspective of who you think you are and what you think you can accomplish, and just deciding to give it the benefit of the doubt, you know, give yourself the benefit of the doubt. It's in that clinging to what others' success must mean about you, that is where we get in our own way. You can't steer your own ship in the direction that you want to go if you're constantly looking at where somebody else is, sailing their ship. Or it's like when you're driving a car, where your eyes go, you will start to move whether you intend to or not. That's a fact. And so if you're constantly looking at what other people are doing and wishing you were them or had their life, first of all, you don't know what their day is like and what they have to do in order to live the life that they're living. They could be loving it, it could be the best thing ever, and they're very fulfilled, or they could also absolutely hate their day and not enjoy it at all. You don't know. But if you are driving the car, the vehicle that is you, down the road of life, and you're constantly staring at someone else's lane, like, you know how they say stay in your own lane? Really stay in your own lane. You cause yourself so much suffering by looking at what other people are doing. I'm going to give another example. I like using the DJ role. I do other things, obviously. We're channeling and I do tarot and coaching and all that stuff, and other things. But it's I was gonna give when I'm talking to people about psychology in terms of how they move through their life, I like to frame it as if you are the bus and you're driving down the road of life, and your bus obviously has a steering wheel and it's different characters inside of you, kind of like the movie Inside Out, but different characters inside of you that are vying for control. They want to drive the bus, and we have to be very conscious about who we are allowing to sit in the driver's seat of our life, because that consciousness takes the wheel and it starts driving you in all different directions because they all have different motivations. This is why we get stuck. This is why we can feel like we're not moving forward for years. It's internal conflict. And it's handy to use IFS, internal family systems, or parts work, just an offshoot of it, to identify those characters and figure out who are the characters trying to drive the bus right now, or who's been in control and is causing this chaos or this holdup or this barrier or this block, and then have a conversation with those parts of you and figure out how you can get them to compromise, make a deal. And you need to figure out who you need to have in your consciousness, in your driver's seat, driving your life forward towards what it is you really want to do, and stop looking in the other lanes, right? Yes, they might be going in a direction that you would like to go, but you still have to stay in your own lane to get where you want to go. You can't just hop over the barrier or, into their lane. That's a recipe for disaster, right? So I hope this is helpful to you. It really, really, really boils down to reminding yourself that wherever you're at on the journey, it's the right place for you. Even if it doesn't feel like it, it's just one chapter of your book. It's just one scene in your movie. It might be that really rock bottom moment where if you were in a movie, the crowd just wants to yell and scream and tell you, just do this, because they know it's that pivotal moment. You might be there, you might not. You could be in the grind phase, that's usually a montage because nobody really wants to sit there and have to watch the grind. But unfortunately, in the movie of life, we have to do it. You could be there right now. And just know that your power really comes in being able to alchemize whatever it is that you feel when you're looking at other people. The more you know that I'm super, I'm with you on it. I'm guilty of it too. But look at what other people are doing with a sense of detachment, and look at it as inspiration. Yeah, detachment, inspiration. Don't worry so much about status, and instead really bring it back to creativity. And I know it's cheesy. It just sounds so cheesy, but they always say it. It's like, you gotta learn to love the journey. Because if you don't, you will, because sometimes the journey takes a long time. You don't know how long it's going to take. So you have to find some enjoyment in the journey, because if you don't, it's a miserable process. And you could get to the end of it, achieve the goal that you've had in mind about manifesting all of that time, and then it doesn't give you the feeling that you were going for. So the secret sauce is to find a way to feel the feeling that you want to feel, or you think you'll feel once you get that manifestation, and feel it now. It makes it faster. You feel a lot better. And sometimes you realize that you didn't even need that goal after all. You never know. Anyways, I hope this helps. I'm sending you so much love, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.